class, we are going to be talking about group work and what that looks like from a legal and ethical perspective. I know last week we were having some issues with some of the links, and I apologize. I don't design the course. I get to lead the course and guide you through the course, but I don't actually design the course. And so sometimes there's issues with links due to changes with the library or things of that situation. I tried to upload a different link that I was given, and it seems like there might have still been some trouble with that, so I apologize. It will be definitely something I'll make note of for future courses in this particular course. So I just wanted to say that. Also, evaluations are coming out, so please, if you would like to do an evaluation, you get 10 extra credit points. Just email me at my CBU email so I know that you completed the evaluation. Again, I won't know what you said individually about the course or your experience dealing with me, which is fine. I just need to know if you completed the assignment. So, and then I'll give you the points, no problem. But I believe those go out very soon because we're already to week 7, which is wild. It's gone by very quickly. Hopefully you feel like you've gotten to really digest this information as it is so important for your future career. And I'm so excited for you. So as we talk about group, the interesting thing when we're talking about confidentiality, when we're dealing with individuals or couples or families, is usually everyone is very clear on what those boundaries are. If it's an individual, it's up to them. If they want to talk about what they share in counseling, that's their choice. But the hard thing is when you're dealing with group is everyone does sign the same documentation saying they're not going to talk about the process and not talk about the group. But the reality is there's many people that are in a group. So confidentiality could very easily get disrupted, not be so confidential, especially with social media and things like that. People could say so-and-so's in my group, which there is things you can do to kind of have consequences for that. And of course, I guess it could go to legal action, but there is a little bit more risk when you are in a group setting because the reality is maybe not everybody will keep the information confidential. And so it's important to be talking about that from the very beginning in a group. You want to make it clear that confidentiality is important for the vulnerability of the group. If you want people to feel like they can be vulnerable and be open about their stuff, then you want to feel like my stuff's not all going to get exposed by somebody else who is just participating in this group with me. That's really important. I think it's important for people to feel like their information won't get blasted somewhere else, especially if you're in like a inpatient setting or a rehab setting. There's people of different maybe walks of life or popularity that could be at those kinds of settings, and how terrible for somebody for their own personal gain disclose something someone is personally sharing about a life experience or something that they've gone through. And so that is one of the risks with group setting. Again, being mindful that there's a lot of different people that come in a group. So some people could have disabilities, could be different from the other people. And so we don't want to encourage stereotypes or assuming things about other people because they are stereotypes and they are assumptions, and we don't want to make those assumptions about anybody else. And that's important. The same goes with diversity. We got to make sure as people who are leading groups that we're conscientious of diversity, and that there are people that are different than us in a lot of different ways. I always talk about how, I don't expect everyone to understand or know or completely get every cultural situation. However, there is nothing wrong in asking questions, explanation. I think when we have a better understanding of where someone's coming from, then we can understand the choices and decisions they're making a little bit easier. For example, certain cultural backgrounds handle family secrets a certain way, handle, unfortunately, child abuse a certain way. maybe the way they talk about feelings is handled a certain way. There's enmeshment stuff. And so, you know, even how they take care of their aging adults might be look different. And so for maybe one person, they don't understand that. But if you take a chance or a moment to understand someone's culture, then it's easier to understand where they're coming from in the choices and decisions they make, or where they feel like they have choice and decision and where they feel like they don't. So just things to be mindful of. Yeah. So, you know, again, with dealing with groups, you're dealing with a wide variety of people. Depending on if it's an open group or a closed group, you could have different people there every week. If it's an open group, it could be very much, or with like an open group, you could have different people every week. That's like your stereotypical AA meeting, NA meeting, those kinds of things. If it's a closed group, it's more contained, more controlled. But that also too could be where you could have a lot of vulnerability shared, and there's more risk of exposure because of other people, not from the therapist, but because of other people. And that's where you lay the groundwork. It's really important as a clinician, whether you're working as a group or you're working as an individual therapist, family therapist, couples therapist, you really lay the groundwork for confidentiality. You make it very clear from the beginning what the expectations are for the whole group, or for whoever's in your office, so that they understand what is required of them, what is important. You give them all that information from the beginning, so there's no question. So if you do have to do something as a mandated reporter, there's no questions as to why you have to do it. If you have to do something and reiterate something about the importance of being on time, or group rules, or confidentiality, everybody already knows these things. Somebody is just either forgotten or doesn't care or whatever, and then there's consequences for those actions. It's important that you are very clear from the beginning and that you toe those lines that you're trying to hold. You set the boundaries, but you have to keep the boundaries. And so just be mindful of that. Like even with late cancellation fees, you know, your time is money. A clinician sets their late cancellation fee, stick to it. So that way there's no questions asked when the time comes to charge their card for a missed session. It's things that you have to set the foundation for so they understand. So when the situations arise, no one's shocked because you've made it very clear. Okay. Now, a lot of groups have co-leaders. I think it's nice because it's nice to have a balance of two different people. It's a way to share responsibility. It's a way to have someone that has your back. Now, the problem could be if you don't get along with your co-leader, if there's some sort of ineffective communication between the two of you, it can turn into good cop, bad cop, or some sort of weird who do you like better. You know, group members can manipulate a situation to make it something that it's not. These are all things that you have to be conscientious of with having a co-leader. You need to be able to resolve conflict with your co-leader so it doesn't come into an issue with, like, kind of like parenting, right? Parents may disagree on something that happens with their kids, but they may not discuss that disagreement in front of their kids so that they come off as a united front, but then deal with it in the behind the scenes. You might need to do that with a co-leader, just so that the group can't try to drive more of a wedge between you and somebody else. These are things to consider, really important, because again, we don't want issues, right? We don't want issues in our groups, and we don't want issues that stir up as a result of us not handling things well with a leadership. Our group won't get the most out of it if our leaders aren't even getting along, you know. So just things to think about. But I do think it's nice to have a partnership, especially if it's new for you and you're starting out. You might have that anyways, but it's really important, I think, for you to make sure that you work well with that person. Okay, so managing groups, member informed consent. That's for any kind of situation, informed consent. If that the proper screenings have been done. Preparing group participants if needed. If it's involuntary participation, making sure you have the right documentation and things of that nature. Depending on the type of group, if there's freedom to leave group or not. What are the psychological risks potentially, and then confidentiality in groups. And then, of course, it's maybe look a little different with minors and with online groups as well. And so making sure whatever site you go to, and if you're doing a lot of group work, that you have the proper tools and the proper information and steps to make sure you're covering all your bases from a legal and ethical perspective. Okay. Now, screening and selection, that usually happens for more closed groups. And so certain group topics, you want to make sure it's the people that are in the right place or the right frame of mind to handle the group. Some groups require maybe somebody to have done some work prior to being part of the group, or maybe it's too fresh for someone, or maybe, you know, like the person doesn't seem well and so they're a harm to themselves, so this group wouldn't be good. You have to make sure that you're screening appropriately depending on the content of the group. Make sure you have proper referrals. So if someone isn't a good fit for the group, what else are you going to refer them to? This helps with making sure you have the right group of people for the group, as well as maybe people who are in the right frame of mind to handle the group. Like I said, not everybody's in a place to handle certain material. And so you have to be very careful and very mindful to make sure you're doing everything that you need to do on your end to take care of that situation, and to be prepared. Involuntary participation, this could be court mandated things. It could cause like the people to be not very happy about it, have a bad attitude. Again, it's a reminder that it's still a choice, and maybe what the consequences are if they don't complete it. And if they're going to be there, they could choose to have a good attitude about it and take in the information, or they could choose to not, but it's going to be a better experience if they choose to buy into the experience. There's a reason they're there. There's a reason they're mandated, whether it be co-parenting, parenting, DV, whatever that looks like. There's a choice, right? And so that can make the group process be beneficial, or it can make it painful depending on the situation. In psychological risks, sometimes group can cause a disruption in someone's life. It could cause maybe things to come up from the past, and so making sure we're mindful of that, making sure we have proper referrals. Again, privacy is sometimes surrendered, again, because there could be vulnerability out there and there's other people in the group and we can't police everybody else that's in the group. And confrontation could be a beneficial part of a group process, or it could be harmful. And so when you're dealing with everybody else in the group, you don't know what they're going to do. And again, as a clinician, it's trying to have control of the group setting. Yes, we want an organic experience, but if we notice someone is being a bully or being demonstrative or breaking group rules, using abusive language, we're addressing that, dealing with it right away, not letting it happen, because we don't want someone to feel like they're being abused in group. That wouldn't be good. Okay. And then again, making sure that we're wrapping up group accordingly, that people are ready to be phased out. If it's a closed group and it's maybe specifically an inpatient setting, a person's ready, making sure we have proper referrals, making sure that the participants did what they were supposed to do to get signed off on documentation. Again, it's your name, your license, it's your supervisor's license if you're still under supervision. It's just really important that you are paying attention to what's required of you and you're doing those things according to what's expected for the group, okay? Again, with all of this, you are trying to, you're not judge and jury, you're not the police, okay? But there's things we're expected to do, and there might be outcomes as a result of doing them, but that outcome may not be our job, but our job is following through on the steps in the process. And if we're not aware of the steps and process, that's where we can get into trouble. And so it's so important to make sure we're following the right steps to do the right thing so our clients have the best and safest experience as possible. Again, in a group setting, we do not have full control because there's other people there. Hopefully we don't have people who are looking to harm other people, but we have to lay the groundwork. We have to maintain control of the group and address issues as they arise, which sometimes causes us to have to be pretty direct or maybe a little confrontational. But in that, we're demonstrating hopefully healthy confrontation, how we have hard conversations, set a boundary, and maybe some of our group members need to learn those things. And so we're modeling. A lot of modeling happens in therapy. Again, whether with an individual client, a family, a couple, with children, there's a modeling that's happening in group. And so you often as the group leader are doing that modeling. So just keeping that in mind. it can be a bit intimidating. That's why, again, I think it's important maybe as you start to have a group or a co-leader to kind of maybe watch or to help guide you through the process. But it is a process. Not always a pretty process, but it is a process. So again, we are wrapping things up. We're getting closer to the end. It's week 7. This is our last live lecture, as next week is week 8. And I know you're finishing all your other finals, not just for this course, but for other courses. Your final test is this week, which is really exciting. You guys you've done it. So please let me know if you have any further questions. Again, I'm so sorry about that link. It was giving me a hard time as well. So anyways, have a good one.